All right, so welcome to the daily lessons miracle class. And I hope you're doing well with your practicing the daily lessons. I sent them out. I put them on Instagram, on Facebook, and on the website. And this is all now activated. We do this. We we share this, and you can get into it wherever you look. It's a bit like that. So how is that going? I hope that's going very well for you, that you enjoy doing the lessons a lot, because it is a pleasure to me to go through all of them again, to even record them and say them out loud, practice them, and seeing how well they are composed and how beautiful the offering continuously by using these lessons. So today we use another key lesson, because that's where this class is like focused on, the key lessons of the of the workbook. And this time it's lesson 14. And so the title of lesson 14 is, I got it right here, God did not create a meaningless world. So, and that is one lesson that you did a couple of days ago. And now it's the 17th when this class takes place. And so lesson 14 is another key lesson. So it's like, okay, suddenly there's the word God brought into it. It's like God did not create a meaningless world. So there's logic connected to it too. So yes, indeed, of course, God did not create a meaningless world, because God is what meaning is in that sense. God is what gives it meaning in its own way, by letting it be what it is and not projecting and all that. So I thought it was interesting to read this lesson, and also to not overwhelm you with information or with insights or who knows what, because it is like you are here at this lesson 14 or 17 today. We'll read that later too. So you're right there with the lesson, and you're practicing that. So the sequence of it, like the way the succession of it is just so perfect. So I've nothing to add to that, of course, but it will not hurt in what we share today with one another. See, one of the ideas that comes into lesson 17 today is one word of a couple of words, is a repertoire of horror. So that attracted my attention. Repertoire of horror, your personal repertoire of horror. And that's of course interesting, because it's like, okay, you have a shared illusion, the ideas that we share with one another that aren't true, and you have your personal repertoire of horror. So I don't know if you read that word and what it did to you when you read it. So this is lesson 17, in fact. But see, lesson 14 deals also with this, with your personal repertoire of horror. So I'm going to read 3 paragraphs from lesson 14. These are the main sections from this lesson, in which there's no practical instruction, but some depth to the lesson. So read with me. So this is on page 297 from the Urtext. Page 297. God did not create a meaningless world. So the idea for today is, of course, the reason why a meaningless world is impossible. So you just admitted that you're upset about it in lesson 12, and that you are becoming afraid of it because a meaningless world engenders fear. But now you see that a meaningless world is impossible. See, and that must raise a question somewhere in you. It's like, okay, so how is that possible? my meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. I'm upset because I see a meaningless world. A meaningless world does engender fear, but God did not create it. So what's that? How is that supposed to happen altogether? So this is the main point that I try to touch today. Like, what on earth happened that this was possible in the first place? Because why are we doing these lessons? It is not for the sake of doing lessons. No, it's because of our discovery that something is not right in the story that we tell ourselves. Right? What God did not create does not exist, and everything that does exist exists as He created it. The world you see has nothing to do with reality. It is of your own making, and it does not exist. Wow, that's a huge statement. The world you see has nothing to do with reality. It is of your own making, and it does not exist. Boing. Wow. Well, good luck with that. So now where is your world? What are you supposed to do with your world now? Since you know it doesn't even exist, why are you occupying yourself with it continuously? See, these are questions that are being raised by just a statement like this. Like, why am I doing this to myself then? Why am I in a world that I don't even like and that I get upset about and are so afraid of all the time, but it actually does not exist? So what then is the true world that I can see, would be one of the questions. Or why am I doing this to myself? Is there a reason that I do this? See, I'm not going to fill in all the answers to these questions, but I surely want to raise them, and not to give you more questions, but more to open up this theme inside yourself. Like, it's okay to be confused about it for a moment, or being overwhelmed with it for a moment, or being even more afraid of it for a moment. It's like, okay, I live in a world, I appear to live in a world, I see a world literally that does not exist, and it is of my own making. I literally only see what I want to see. Okay, so we continue in the next, say in paragraph 3. The idea for today is another step in learning to let go the thoughts which you have written on the world and see the word of God in their place. The early steps in this exchange, which can truly be called salvation, can be quite difficult and even quite painful. The early steps in this exchange, which can truly be called salvation, can be quite difficult and even quite painful. Some of them will lead you directly into fear. You will not be left there, though. You will go far beyond it. Our direction is toward perfect safety and perfect peace. So that's why I say, like, it's okay to, for a moment, be confused about this and also be overwhelmed by this and not having any idea how to look at this at all. That actually is a good sign that you're opening up to having that answer given to you. So that's the ease of this Course in Miracles. It's actually easy if you just follow the instructions and not think that you have to know more about it already, or that you have to come up with a solution yourself, or that you have to come up with a philosophy around it or about it. Like, no, none of that you need to do. You just need to do the lesson. Totally simple in that sense. So you heard it. Like, you made this world yourself. You project your ideas upon it all the time, and you got used to it, and you really think that that's your world. But here we go, entering into a miracle-minded setting, like a miracle-minded mindset, which gives you an opportunity of a different way of looking at all of this. So there must be a way to look at this in a whole different way, something that I cannot understand right now, or something that I cannot even come up with myself. And I trusted myself so far that I allowed myself to project all kinds of ideas on this world. But seeing the result of that is basically that I don't feel happy with what I created, so to speak. I don't feel happy with what I'm seeing, because it makes me afraid, it makes me upset, and I can talk about it forever in terms of sharing my worries and fears around it continuously. So that's why I'm really starting to become open more and more, and I hope you do that with me. It's like you become more and more open to receive a different vision, and not filling in any blanks, but leaving it completely open to have that being written for you on this world that you will start to see. So it's like the moment of confusion and fear can just be temporary, and that's all right, but that will change. You will not be left there. So and this is really something that you go through. So this is your first, if you do this series of lessons for the first time, it's like you actually now for the first time allow yourself to stay in this fear for a moment, even letting it increase a little if that happens. But you're not going to run away from it. You stay right there and be confused for a moment and let that happen. And to see that you can move through this and come out on another side, like on the other side of it, with a new vision and with a new way of looking at everything. This is basically the offering in this lesson. But we will continue with the third paragraph that I want to read. That's paragraph 6. Oh yeah, here's the repertoire of horror. It's like the world you made. This is your personal repertoire of horrors at which you are looking. This is the world you see. These things are part of the world you see. Some of them are shared illusions, and others are part of your personal hell. It does not matter. What God did not create can only be in your own mind apart from His. Therefore it has no meaning. In recognition of this fact, you conclude the practice period by repeating today's idea. God did not create a meaningless world. So it's like, this is your personal repertoire of horrors. For instance, God did not create this cancer, or God did not create this heart attack. So it cannot be real. See, and then this is so perfect how this is being said. It's like, just do this, just repeat the idea. Okay, so this is what you did. That's all right. You did what you did. You projected it on there. You filled that in for yourself in a certain way that really scared you. But luckily you discover, and this is the great reversal basically that is taking place. The great change is that you now start to see that it was you, that it is you who is doing that, nobody else. It's like you discover the source of your upset. You start to discover where it's coming from. Like, this is not done to you. No, you're doing this. It's like, this is the world that you created. It does not exist, and so it has no meaning. But, and it's also pointing out to you, like, okay, I'm doing this to myself. Nobody else is doing this to me. I'm the source of this upset and nothing else. So if I would change my mind, that would change too. And that would give me the opportunity to see a whole different vision, whole different view on all of it. So I think it's a very comforting idea. Like, this is my experience with it. It's a very comforting idea that I discovered that I created this world in my imaginations. Like, I projected on it whatever I wanted it to. and it looked like that, and it didn't make me happy, and it makes me upset, and I got afraid of it. But now I see that it can actually be changed. Well, that fact is really like what you can call salvation, is really helping you to be comforted just by your admission that you did this to yourself. Is there suddenly a possibility of healing, of a possibility of change? Like, it doesn't have to stay this way. So that means also then, and this is the practical, emotional, mental part of it, is that you stick with it no matter what you feel for a moment. That's what I said. It's like you stay with your fear for a moment to move through it and allow the change to occur. And now you can do that because you know that there's nothing to be afraid of. It was just your repertoire of horror or your personal hell. Well, you would have loved that to be changed into your shared heaven. You know, so this is the opportunity for that. But what I wanted to say and really emphasize is, so moving from your personal hell to this shared heaven is the process that we go through. Is what you could call your transformational path or your transformational process. So in that, it is important to stay exactly where you are and not to run forward. No, not to miss anything in the change that is occurring in you. So I think that is an important part in looking at this lesson and how you do these lessons. Is like just stay with where you find yourself. Acknowledge the feelings that you have or the resistance that you feel, and so all of that. It's like, don't dismiss it in any kind of way. No, feel it, because it's important part of your own experience of it. Like, nobody's asking you to experience something that you don't experience. No, stay right where you are, but know also that there's great comfort given to you, that only reality is real and nothing else is real. So that makes you want to do these exercises and it helps you to go through things, even though they seem to be unpleasant for a moment. But you know it is for the good, so to speak. It is like, I've misjudged all of it. I missed it completely, what it actually is about. And I want that to be changed for me. So the only thing that I have to do is then stay present here in my process, feeling what I'm feeling. It doesn't have to be any other way. So it's not always like being in complete bliss or receiving tons of grace or all of that. It's like, no. You feel what you feel, and that is all perfect. It doesn't need to be different. And I think that is really important, and you cannot dismiss that. Otherwise you fall into the trap of psychologicalizing everything and thinking it over, thinking, okay, I don't have to feel it, it's not real anyway. Like, no, if you want the change to occur, you will have to feel this, what it does with you. To have this, like, even a physical there's a word for that, like physical resonance or something with that. Like, let that occur. Go through where you go through. Feel what you feel. And be confused. Like, whatever state you come in mentally, it's like, let that be for a moment. See, and I would have been really happy when I first did these lessons to hear this and what I'm just sharing with you. So that's why I'm sharing it with you now. It's like, it can be really of great help to you, because, see, the tendency to intellectualize or psychologicalize the lessons of A Course in Miracles has been like a disease, really, and that. There's no need for that, because that's not what's being told to do. But you want to run forward and still look for almost like a competitive way of doing this, and thinking that you already need to be further than where you find yourself, if there is such a thing. It's like all of that is still ego-based, or you compare yourself with others, like, well, I'm not experiencing that, or this one must be much further than I am, or however that is. Like, no. We're exactly in the same spot. Like, just feel what you feel. You don't need to be anywhere else. This is happening to you right now. You do these lessons, and you want to do them completely. So that's why I say there's a bit of grounding going on in this way of sharing with you right now. And that grounding is really essential. So I love that. So it will also help you to stay motivated in doing this. Because if you allow yourself to feel the fear and to feel the despondency or confusion of overwhelmingness of all of this, then it is also, say, that you go through it and see it change. And then you see that by keeping your mind open and allowing yourself to go through the process, that you stay inspired. Like you start to feel a real clear spark inside yourself with, oh my God, I can't believe how things are lifted just by doing exactly what it says and staying with it and not trying to go any further or thinking that I need to be better or who knows what I think about myself. Like all these thoughts have no ground. They have no reality. So the feelings that you have are yours. That is your experience of all of this. So that's why I love to share it like this. Okay, so that was lesson 14. One of the parts that comes up then is this, and you can find it in chapter 27. So we still stay right here, so to speak. We still stay right here at the point of origin of the separation, if you want, or the origin that suddenly you discover that you are the source of your say of your dream, of your repertoire of horrors, or your personal hell. And so in chapter 27 something is given us that gives also an idea about the origin of the separation, in fact. So it's in the Ur text, chapter 27, and then in section I, I'm just reading one paragraph, so you can check it out or not. This is paragraph 6. So listen to this. Into eternity, where all is one, there crept a tiny mad idea, at which the Son of God remembered not to laugh. In his forgetting did the thought become a serious idea, and possible of both accomplishment and real effects. Together we can laugh them both away and understand that time cannot intrude upon eternity. It is a joke to think that time can come to circumvent eternity, which means there is no time. A timelessness in which is time made real, a part of God which can attack himself, a separate brother as an enemy, a mind within a body. All are forms of circularity, whose ending starts at its beginning, ending at its cause. So into eternity, where all is one, there crept a tiny mad idea at which the Son of God remembered not to laugh. In this forgetting did the thought become a serious idea, and possible of both accomplishment and real effects. So this is what you do, what you keep repeating as a human being and thinking that that is your life. It's like, it was a tiny mad idea, but you forgot to laugh. You took it serious. So and one of the characteristics of a human being is that he is serious because he's in serious trouble, basically. He created a world where it's really hard to survive and where it's really hard to be open to one another, because the thing of love mostly appears to be an illusion. And the idea of separate bodies walking around on this, say, planet, 3 billion people walking around on this planet, all separate bodies in separate countries, in separate houses, in separate beds, and you know what, like that is being so into detail made real for ourselves that we started to believe that it's our reality. So it's like we took it serious. We forgot to laugh about this crazy idea. See, and so are you laughing with me? So we can laugh this both away. Are you laughing with me at what you actually created? It's like a whole separate life with other beings that are also separate in bodies walking around on this planet. How's that idea for you? Do you still think that that is your reality? That is your daily reality? Or are you allowing yourself to see this in a whole different light and laugh about the old idea that you had? So in fact, this is what you see continuously. So whether anyone else is picking that up, so it's good to stay close to this idea. Like if you take something serious, then look again. You know, it's like look again in terms of, is this another tiny mad idea that I try to perpetuate in time? Am I really trying to make this real? And am I taking this serious because I think something is depending on it? Or can I just let it go and take my seriousness out of it and allowing myself to breathe again and relax into the safety where what my reality is. Like comfort and safety. We read it in lesson 14. It's like, no, here's perfect peace and perfect safety. It's not just a little bit. No, it's perfect. Perfect safety. Like, wow, that's pretty amazing. So this tiny mad idea at which you forgot to laugh, you just have to forgive that yourself by saying like, okay, well, whatever that was. And whenever you take anything serious of this world, that you think that there's really something going on, laugh again. You know, it's like, remember this again. It was just another tiny mad idea. I will not forget to laugh about this time, because I know of perfect safety and a perfect peace. I want to experience the perfect safety and perfect peace in this moment. But by realizing that I have a choice and that I don't have to take this serious, I start to relax already. I feel so much better, because the limited world that I created is so confined and so cramped, so to speak, that there's literally no way out. It seems like it's a total prison, if you want, a prison of mind. No matter how you want to move, you will walk up against a limitation. It's impossible. It isn't. Like now it becomes pretty obvious with all the restrictions that you receive in your world by just an idea that's being shared. And so that's a beautiful example of how you walk up against limitation. And does that take away that you follow instructions? No, not necessarily, but you can still see them for what they are. It's like in a world where these ideas are still shared, I will laugh about it when I have a moment with myself. I will laugh about it, and I will be open for the guidance to share with anyone how to deal with this, and how to respond to anyone who really is convinced of this limitation. But most of the what is being asked of you is to realize this yourself. So to laugh about it for yourself, to free yourself from this limiting idea that you carried with you for a moment. And you will not forget to laugh again. Like, you don't want to forget to laugh again about all the seriousness that you took with you on your journey. So that is another part that I loved to share with you. So there's another one here. It's in chapter 16, section C. And that's also pretty amazing. So there's a bit of an admission going on into that too. So chapter 16 and section C, paragraph 9. This year, there's only one paragraph too. This year, determine not to deny what has been given you by God to use for Him. He has Himself reminded you of Him. Awake and share it, for that is the only reason He has called to you. His voice has spoken clearly, and yet you have so little faith in what you heard, because you have preferred to place still greater faith in the disaster you made. Today, let us resolve together to accept the joyous tidings that disaster is not real, and that reality is not disaster. Reality is safe and sure and wholly kind to everyone and everything. There's no greater love than to accept this and be glad. For love asks only that you be happy, and will give you everything that makes for happiness. So I'll read that again, because that's like awesome. This year, determine not to deny what has been given you by God to use for Him. He has Himself reminded you of Him. Awake and share in it. For that is the only reason He has called to you. Awake and share in it. That's the the instruction. Awake and share in it. And share it. Share your happiness in this. Share what you have discovered. Share your happiness and your wow. For that is the only reason He has called to you. His voice has spoken clearly, and yet you have so little faith in what you heard, because you have preferred to place still greater faith in the disaster you have made. See, honestly, looking at that, it's like, oh my God, yes, I do that. I still have faith in the disaster that I've created. I still have faith in that. Why? What is the reason for that? That's insane. That's insane. I can't believe that I'm doing that still. Like, over and over, I come to the places where I discover, like, oh my God, I'm actually placing trust in this disaster that I've made. Like, in these beliefs that I can have. I still put faith in them. I share those ideas with others. I can't believe it. And so I still keep perpetuating my world of unreality, my world of illusion. And I dismiss the idea that greater good has come to me. And this is what you do as a human being in awakening, even as a spiritual student in awakening. You keep repeating that until you don't, and until you see that it has effect how you think about it. Like, there's no neutral thought at all. Every thought has an effect. So that's what we come up with the lesson of today. I don't think we get to it, but anyway. So I was like, here it is, lesson 17. Like, you you don't even know how a real thought feels because you're so like full with thoughts that aren't real, and you keep perpetuating those, and nobody knows why. Like, why would you want to do it? Because you're accustomed to it. You think that's okay, and that is not so hurtful. At least it's reliable in the sense of recognizable. You know these thoughts very well, and it's your habit to perpetuate them. You can also say it's like your addiction as a mortalholic, like thinking that there's such thing as time, thinking that there's such thing as death and disaster. So the comforting words after those sentences are here then. Today, let us resolve together. Let us resolve together to accept the joyful tidings that disaster is not real, and that reality is not disaster. Reality is safe and sure and wholly kind to everyone and everything. There's no greater love than to accept this and be glad. For love asks only that you be happy, and will give you everything that makes for happiness. So this is not just a promise, this is the reality of you. Like it's in effect. In this moment it is in effect. In this moment when you allow the real world to emerge, like letting your world fall apart and allowing a new world to come to you with the idea of love, which is shared with everyone and everything and made for love to extend itself. Like, yes, of course you want that, even though you don't know how to get to it. But you first will have to let go of your world, your repertoire of horrors, your, say, investment in disaster. So, tiny mad idea. Just laugh it away in that sense. And if you feel fear. Allow that to be there too. It's like, whatever this awakens in you in terms of emotions and mental occupation, so to speak, let it be for a moment and allow this change to occur for you. Because as you see, there's nothing to be afraid of. There's nothing to fear in this. There's absolutely nothing to fear. So it's, yes, you want to know, you want to see the love being shared with everyone and everything, in all its loveliness. You're ready for that. You've been long enough in this place, in this denial of truth. So now the time has come to allow this new world to arise in you, in everyone, by you sharing that, by you giving that, by you being excited about this, and say, accepting this for yourself. So I hope this will, say, give some depth to the idea of lesson 14. And not stick with an idea of a repertoire of horror, but go beyond it and see what is possible. So thank you for your time, and in class we continue now with sharing about this, how it is going with the lessons, and what your new discoveries are in this, how that works for you, stuff like that. All right, thank you.